Where I'm at with my training in the lead up to my first race of the year gets the strength, the fitness and the conditioning. In terms of weekly mileage, having fucking fun. Big welcome to the vlog. Thank you heaps for being here. And in this one, I'm just going to check in on where I'm at with my training and my focus at the moment, and yeah, where I'm at with my training in the lead up to my first race of the year in 2 weeks, and then Ultra Trail Australia after that. So we're on a run, and we're going to attempt to shoot the whole vlog on this run talking to camera, so let's see how we go. This period, I've had way more time than usual post femoral stress, because keeping in mind I've had a few in the last 2 years. I've had more time before my first race. My first race of the year is usually Warburton Trail Fest in Victoria, and this year I gave that a miss, and the reason for that was just to give myself more time to make sure that my body really gets the strength, the fitness and the conditioning it needs to be able to start the race season. So yeah, it's been a late start to the year for me, but my first race, Jabalani at Bobbin Head, 45k is coming up in around 2 weeks, and feeling really good so far. And yeah, I'll dive into what my conservative training is looking like at the moment, where I'm at, and hopefully where I'm going. So in terms of weekly mileage, I've been adding 5 kilometers a week to my total, which is nothing, but that's been very intentional in making sure that the amount of load going through my body in terms of how far I'm running is incrementally increased. If you look at my Strava graph, it's pretty insane how increasing 5 kilometers a week and running exact weekly kilometers you want, down to the meter almost. I wouldn't say it takes the joy out of it, but it definitely doesn't allow for like being very creative or very spare of the minute with your training, which is good for the reasons I want, but it also can be very hard, and it creates a really rigid training plan. And I guess the last thing I've been very mindful of is fitness versus conditioning. Fitness is kind of this eternal goal that we're chasing, where you get fit and then the goalposts go further and you get fitter and you're never really fit. But conditioning is the one that really interests me. And conditioning, the first thing that comes to mind when I think conditioning is cramping in races. People will cramp in a race and they'll say, oh, I didn't have enough salt, didn't have enough, didn't stretch enough, whatever. It almost always comes down to conditioning. Food and drink play a part, but conditioning for sure. And what conditioning is versus fitness is making sure that you have done training that replicates very closely what you're going to ask your body to do in a race. So for example, if you're running a very hilly race and you do not train any hills, you will cramp on hills. because you're not conditioned to running hills. So that's another thing that I always think about that, but I've been thinking a lot about that and training my body very specifically for the races I have coming up. Again, so that I can get that steady growth rather than my body battery, you know, hitting a hilly race after having done 0 hills and going, ah, shit, this hurts, something will break. So that's the other one. Conditioning, way more important than fitness. And lastly, and most importantly, the one thing that not many people talk about during training blocks when they're very serious runners is having fucking fun. Have a look at this. I don't know what your idea of fun is, but this is an insane amount of fun for me. And fun is the one thing that drives everything that I do in the running world. Without fun, my motivation will dwindle, and training is just so much fun. All the stuff I've just mentioned, it might sound laborious to some people, and that's totally fine, I get it. But for me, this stuff is insanely fun. I love training. I do not train to race. I put races in the calendar so that I can train. And I almost find that races are a bit of an interruption or an inconvenience because the training part is just so fun, and I don't want to taper and I don't want to recover from a race, even though I do. I just want to train. Because yeah, training is where you really make yourself better, and you make these incremental improvements that are not all about PBs and times and Strava and all this shit, but an improvement can simply be, hey, I went to bed half an hour earlier last night. I went to bed at 8:30 p.m. like a child. And the reason I did that is because my legs didn't feel amazing. And then when I woke up this morning, they do feel amazing. So there's just so many things to think about, but the number one focus, as I almost slipped over, is that this is just so much fucking fun and I love it so much. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments how your training's going, how you manage everything, and mainly just how much fun you're having. Let me know in the comments. One thing I didn't talk about as I'm eating, running up a hill, which is not ideal, is food and drink. I've always been good at the food and drink, and by good I mean I can eat the house down very easily, even when I don't train. But also I have a balanced diet and I make sure I get everything that I need to support the training that I'm doing. But I would say I've been focusing even more on it. After my last bone stress injury, it wasn't something that was flagged because all the nutrition side of my running was under the microscope and there was no red flags. But I've just taken it upon myself to not overdo it, but just make sure that I'm ticking every single box on every single run, because why not? So this run, for example, 10 kilometers easy on the trails, which will take me maybe 50 minutes, and I'm eating once. I'm drinking along the way, just water, but I'm eating. And not many people would do that for a 50-minute run, especially first thing in the morning. I'm doing it for two reasons. Obviously to fuel my body, make sure that I'm always fueled no matter what. And the other reason is so that I can practice running uphill on the hardest section of the loop, eating food, which you would never do in a race, but I'm training my breathing while I eat and my gut. And I'm doing this every single run, every single day, every single gym session. And it's another really important piece of the puzzle, which, as I said, I've always been good at, but this time around, I'm even better. Okay, got about 2K to go. I hope this vlog was interesting to you. Thank you so much for being here. If you did find it interesting, or even if you didn't, then hit the subscribe button, like the video for me, and please leave a comment. It really helps my videos get seen on YouTube. It helps the algorithm. Costs you nothing, and I would really appreciate it if you left a comment. And I write back to comments within a couple of minutes usually. And yeah, I just love chatting to people in the comments and hearing about how your training's going and how your life's going. So yeah, the point of this video was just to check in on my training and tell you how things are going with me. Obviously, it wasn't very technical, but that's because I'm not a very technical, numbers-orientated kind of guy. Numbers are kind of a means to an end. They are very important for a lot of reasons. But for me, when it comes down to my interests in the running world, someone can talk about heart rate variability and cool, I'm interested for 5 minutes, but then I'm on my phone scrolling through endless photos of trees that I saw on my run. So yeah, there's heaps of technical training videos on YouTube which you can check out. This is not one of them, obviously. But yeah, just wanted to check in, tell you where I'm at, tell you the kind of recipe that I create for my training, and however you're going about your training, I hope it's serving your body well, because I think in summarizing this whole video, the number one most important factor in your training is how your body is feeling. And then the kind of antithesis of that, especially if you're quite a cautious person, is not being too scared to run through pain, to run through soreness, tightness, all those kinds of things. So it's a balancing act where you really need to be mindful of your body and how it's feeling, but then also, obviously, as runners, running is hard, and sometimes you're going to have to push through as well. So yeah, just remember to put your body first, remember to have fun, and remember that if you're moving, whatever that looks like to you, then you're definitely winning at life. Next few weeks are going to be super fun. We've got a run camp in the Blue Mountains next weekend. Vlad and I are putting that on with Run Lab. So we've got about 30 people coming up to the Blue Mountains, and we're going to put in a solid weekend of training, which will probably be about 75K over the weekend. And then the following weekend, I've got Jabalani, my first race, which is 45K. So obviously with those two kind of blowout weeks, I'm already thinking about what I'm going to do training-wise in the lead up. Because I'm not going to be doing my usual training and then running 75K on the weekend, because that will just be way too much for my body. More about those later. Thanks so much for being here. Enjoy your running, enjoy your life. See you in the next one.